Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something pretty fundamental, really.
Yeah, what do we actually mean when we talk about rich and poor?
Exactly. You shared some really thought-provoking stuff that gets right to the core of it. Wealth, happiness.
And, whether people can actually move up that ladder. Is it really possible?
Right. So our mission, if you will, for this deep dive is to sort of pull out the key ideas from this material.
Hopefully give you a clearer picture of these, well, pretty complex
Yeah,
issues.
maybe even find some things that are a bit surprising. Okay, so let's get into it.
Absolutely, because it's not just about, counting dollars and cents.
Now,
It's trying to grasp the bigger picture, how finances connect with, well, our lives, our happiness.
and the info we're looking at, it really does challenge some common ideas, doesn't it?
It definitely does, especially about money and being happy.
Okay, so let's start right there. That age-old question. Does money actually buy happiness?
Ha! Yeah, the million-dollar question, maybe literally.
Yeah. Right. And looking at our sources, the answer seems to be, well, it's complicated.
Nuanced, I think is the word.
Yeah. We see, for instance, the psychologist Daniel Kahneman. His research found happiness levels kind of plateaued.
Right, around that $75,000 a year mark, wasn't it?
That's the figure.
Yeah.
So more money beyond that point doesn't necessarily mean a lot more, day-to-day joy.
Which is fascinating when you think about it. What does that plateau really signal?
Does it mean that once basic needs are covered?
Exactly. Other things start becoming way more important for feeling happy.
Seems like it. And the sources point out this interesting paradox, too.
Oh, yeah, the bit about individuals versus countries.
Wealthier people within a country often say they're happier than poorer people.
But when you zoom out and compare whole countries, the richer nations aren't automatically the happier ones.
It really makes you pause, right? What's going on there?
Well, it suggests something beyond just individual bank accounts is key.
The sources seem to highlight things like having options, feeling secure,
Yeah, that sense of security seems crucial. It's maybe less about the sheer amount of cash.
and more about the freedom and stability it potentially offers.
Exactly. If you connect that dot, it makes you wonder about society as a whole.
Like, is overall well-being tied more to things like safety nets, opportunities for everyone?
Rather than just the GDP number for the country. It's an interesting thought.
Okay, so money and happiness, not a straight line, especially after a certain income level. Got it.
Right.
Now, let's tackle something that sounds simple, but again, seems pretty slippery. What does rich even mean?
Oh, yeah, it's surprisingly subjective, isn't it? You'd think there'd be a clear number.
Totally. But that 2013 UBS report you sent over, really eye-opening.
Yeah, what was it? Only about 28% of people with $1 to $5 million felt rich.
And even wilder, more than 60% of those with over 5 million didn't see themselves as truly wealthy.
It really makes you wonder, what's the internal yardstick people are using?
Is it comparing yourself to others?
Yeah.
Like the next level up?
Or maybe hitting a certain lifestyle. It's clearly more than just the balance.
It really is. And here in the U.S., we use rich for, well, everyone from millionaires to billionaires.
Which kind of blurs the definition, doesn't it?
It does. And when you look at the actual numbers, like median net worth,
Okay, yeah. What were those figures?
for a 35-year-old, the median is around $35,000. It peaks later, maybe $195,000 around age 65.
And just to clarify, median means half or above, half or below that number.
Exactly. So for a lot of people, rich probably just means a level of financial comfort and security that's, well, way beyond their current reality.
Not necessarily like private jets and yachts.
Right. It's about feeling secure, maybe having fewer money worries.
What really comes through is how relative it all is. Your definition probably depends a lot on where you are now.
And what your own financial goals look like.
Yeah. What feels like a fortune to one person might just feel like enough to someone else.
Okay, so rich is fuzzy, tied to security, choices, and it's relative. But that brings us to the next big question.
How hard is it to actually get there? To become rich?
Especially getting into, say, the top 5% of earners, the sources suggest it's pretty tough.
Yes, they definitely do. That idea that money breeds money seems to capture a big part of it.
The starting advantage.
Exactly. If you come from a family that already has resources, you often have a leg up.
Better education, maybe. Better connections.
All of that, a more stable foundation to even start building from.
It's that compounding effect again, isn't it? You often hear about tech billionaires.
Right. The dropout success stories.
Yeah, but the sources remind us that even many of them had access to, well, resources or connections before they hit it big.
It wasn't always pulling themselves up purely by their bootstraps, so to speak.
A fair point.
And the data on who goes to top universities seems to back this up.
How so?
Well, kids from wealthier families are just statistically more likely to end up at those elite schools
Which then opens doors to better jobs.
and more chances to build wealth. It becomes a cycle, reinforcing itself.
Wow. Which leads us neatly into a statistic that really jumped out at me.
Let me guess, the inherited wealth figure.
Bingo. Approximately 60% of wealth in America is inherited. 60%.
That's a massive chunk.
It really is. And it just highlights the extra hurdle for people starting without that, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Trying to break into those higher economic levels without that initial cushion, it's a significantly steeper climb.
And the sources draw such a stark contrast between the financial lives of the wealthy and, well, those with less.
Yeah, it's like two different realities sometimes.
For someone with wealth, debt or an unexpected bill might just be an annoyance, manageable.
Whereas for someone struggling, it can trigger a whole cycle, borrowing for parking tickets, medical stuff.
Student loans, it just traps people.
It really does. The debt cycle makes it so hard to get ahead, to save, to invest.
The interest just keeps piling up while you're trying to cover basics. It's a major block to moving up.
A huge impediment to upward mobility, definitely.
So, okay, we've talked about the challenges, the inherited wealth factor, the debt cycles. It sounds pretty bleak.
It can sound that way.
But is there any path for upward mobility? Can someone not born rich actually make it? Is that American dream idea still alive at all?
Well, the information suggests it's not impossible.
Right.
Breaking into that rich circle, while really, really difficult, does still happen for some people.
So the dream isn't completely dead.
It seems not entirely, but, and this is a big but, we have to acknowledge those massive hurdles we just discussed.
Right.
Success often takes incredible drive, sure, but also getting the right connections.
Which can be tough without that built-in network.
Exactly. And the sources are pretty blunt about this, too. It often involves a fair bit of luck.
So it's not just pure effort, systemic stuff, chance.
Yeah.
They play a big role.
The odds are stacked, definitely. But it seems ultimately the sources circle back to an important point.
Which is?
That having a lot of money isn't the only thing that makes for a good life.
Back to happiness again.
Yeah. Financial security. Hugely important, nobody's denying that. It reduces stress, opens doors.
But it's not the sole determinant of happiness.
Exactly. The sources remind us that your mindset, how you handle challenges, your general outlook.
Regardless of your bank balance.
Right. Those things play a massive part in how fulfilling your life feels overall.
So wrapping up this deep dive then. Rich and poor are clearly complex, loaded terms.
Definitely no easy answers.
We've seen how rich is subjective, how tough building wealth can be, especially without a head start, the huge impact of inherited money.
But also that money, while providing security and options, isn't the be-all and end-all for happiness.
Right. Seems like a good place to leave it, actually.
It does. And maybe a final thought for you listening.
Yeah.
Reflecting on all this, what parts about wealth and happiness really hit home for you? And maybe what steps, whatever your situation is right now, could help build a more fulfilling life?
Definitely something to chew on.